It's always a little odd seeing all of you and speaking into this, and somehow it arrives there. For anyone who's not familiar with me or I am Robert Beatty. At least that's who people call me. That's who I'm trying to be. I'm coming to you from Portland, Oregon, Beaverton, a suburb to be exact. This is a broadcast of the Portland Insight Meditation Community, which is a thriving Buddhist, Theravadan or inspired Buddhist community that's been around for a long time. I've been teaching in Portland since '79, and we bought our beautiful building that, alas, we are not visiting much these days, back in 2004. And there are numerous teachers, one of whom, Jim Dalton, is with us this morning, will lead some movement, and all kinds of offerings online. So I encourage you to go to the website, portlandinsight.org, and you can find out lots about the center. And my website, robertbeatty.com, has tons of information as well that can be very useful. So we're going to follow our traditional format. We've had it like this for years, actually, except not over Zoom until relatively recently. I'm going to share a poem with you and then sing with you as you wish the Refuges. And then there will be a guided meditation. And then Jim Dalton will lead some movement. And then I will be giving a happy birthday, Jim. Is it Jim Dalton's birthday? It is? Well, golly, I think we should take care of that right away. Let's unmute, please. Are we ready? We'll do it very harmoniously too. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Jim. Happy birthday to you.
Thank you.
And please, let's have everybody mute now, if you will. They keep changing the controls. All right.
There is no control.
And that is the voice of God. Yes. How old are you today, Jim?
75.
75. Wow. Who would have
You're a young man. Yeah.
Who would have thunk we'd make it into the 70s?
Yeah, who would have thunk it?
Right. Well, there were some close calls, but we made it.
More than you know.
More than any of us know, I imagine, with all of us, you know. How many times fiddling with that tape into the tape recorder in the car was it much closer than we thought? Okay. At our Teachers Council meeting on Friday night, Gary Sanders mentioned a documentary that's showing on HBO right now. It's called The Vow. And it's a 7-part series on cults, on a cult. And it's very well done and very interesting. And I'm halfway through. And I was in a Buddhist cult for 5 years, very early in my practice. And it has served me well. I learned a lot from that. And I've helped many people get out of restrictive organizations, thought control organizations. But Well, I'm going to speak today about one of the central topics of the Buddha's teachings, which is dependent origination, paticca samuppada, with a specific intention, which is listening to the beliefs that they were following. Not that the beliefs are the central problem with cults isn't the beliefs, it's the processes and isolation that they put people into. But the belief that they had was that we control our own emotions. That we can convert. If you're feeling sad, convert it to joy. Do it now, make it. And they would do group processes, so people learned really how to repress very effectively. And the Buddhist view of that, as I understand it, as expressed in the dependent origination, is the middle path. It's not that we have no control, nor that we have control. It's that there's some influence, there's some way we can, in fact, shape a destiny. So that's where that's coming from today. And in keeping with that, the first two stanzas of the Dhammapada, one of the most popular compilations of the Buddhist teachings, go like this. Mind is the forerunner of all states. Mind is chief, mind is king and queen. If a person thinks or acts with a mind rooted in greed, hatred, and ignorance, then suffering follows that person like the wheel in the track of the ox. Second stanza. Mind is the forerunner of all states. Mind is chief, mind is king, queen. If a person thinks or acts in a mind rooted in generosity, love, compassion, and wisdom, then happiness follows that person like the moon in the path of the stars. Isn't that elegant? I love that. Moon in the path of the stars. So, as has been our practice, let's remind ourselves of the refuges. I've been playing the guitar so much my thumb hurts. It's a bit like meditation. If you practice a little bit all the time, then when you practice more, it doesn't hurt. I don't think the analogy works. I take refuge in the Buddha, the one who shows me the way in this life. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Buddhaya, Namo Buddhaya. I take refuge in the Dharma, the way of understanding and love. Namo Dharmaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Dharmaya. I take refuge in the Sangha, the community of mindful harmony. Namo Sanghaya, Namo Sanghaya, Namo Sanghaya. Mind is the forerunner of all states. So this training, the Buddhist path, is fundamentally a training of the mind and heart. So there's a particular exercise that we do to strengthen the aspects of the mind that are highly desirable. Mindfulness, concentration. The other 5 enlightenment factors: curiosity, persistence, energy, joy, tranquility, equanimity. And it's a gardening project. So we prepare the soil. We create a comfortable, upright posture, a way to sit as pain-free as possible. The Buddha sat cross-legged because he was from a small village in North India, where everyone sat cross-legged. What's important is to sit comfortably upright. If you have back support, a little low back support is just fine. The more it gets toward being in your recliner, the more likely it is you'll go to sleep, which is not a disaster, but it doesn't give the opportunity to practice in the way that sitting comfortably upright does. And so now, where are you? What is your location on the planet? There's a continent and a city and a room, and there's your place in the room. Notice how distant you are from the walls, aware of the space around you. Notice the aliveness, which is your feet. Which is what you call your hands. And it isn't a conceptual knowing, it's a distinctive awareness of the actual sensations, the tingling, vibrating aliveness. But let's not get caught in the terms tingling or vibrating either. Those are just concepts. There is an actual experience of life. And this body, your vehicle for a lifetime, is dependent upon the rest of the world. Your body is the living earth, manifesting as a human body. Notice that it breathes. And it breathes all by itself. And each breath has a beginning. Really notice that. There's no breath. There's no breathing. And then some kind of a hunger or a longing, a desire builds up in the body. In terms of human physiology, it's the buildup of carbon dioxide that sets off this hunger. And then breathing in begins. And breathing in continues for some time. And there's perhaps a stretching of the musculature and tendons of the chest and abdomen. And then there's fullness and then decline. And then there's disappearing. And there is a very mysterious thing happening here, which is that awareness exists. And awareness notices breathing in and breathing out. One could say that the breathing in and out happen in awareness. And there are other things that happen as well. The mind wanders. We fall into trances. The trance of the past, the trance of the future. When we land lovingly, decidedly on the sensations of breathing, it hones the mind or trains the mind somehow, illuminates its capacity of observation. And so the mind wanders. And just as we can observe the beginning of thoughts, the beginning of the breath, so thoughts come into being. Oftentimes, we don't catch the beginning of a thought. We may catch it 5 thoughts later, or maybe even there's been some emotion involved. But mysteriously, somehow, mindfulness and concentration illuminate the thoughts. And then there's a moment of what seems, at least seems to be free will. And there's a choice. Shall I stay with the thought or shall I return to breathing? And for the purposes of the meditation, the choice is I shall return to breathing. And it's not a battle. We're not trying to get rid of the thoughts. We simply want to awaken and not be identified with them. And so we come home to breathing in and out. For some people, it is helpful to attend to breathing at the nostrils. On the in-breathing and out-breathing, there are rather distinct and subtle sensations. It isn't following the breath down through the nose, into the throat, and into the body somehow. That's an imagination practice. This is the practice of bare attention to the sensations in the nostrils, at the surface of the nostrils, that occur when in-breathing and out-breathing. It's also, of course, quite possible that the 5 hindrances are putting in an appearance. Perhaps even the 5 a multiple hindrance attack. If it's difficult to abide with the breath, check to see if there is desire present. The mind is wanting something. I want something. I want something to happen. Or it's not wanting something. It's wanting the mind not to have this experience. Or maybe it's simply restless, agitated, worried, jumping from one object to another. Or sleepy dullness, sloth and torpor. Or doubt, which stands all by itself. Can I do this? Do I believe in this anyway? Maybe this is the wrong practice, the wrong time, the wrong teacher. So we notice any or all of these as they arise. Normal inhabitants of a human mind, normal landmarks. The primary antidote is always awareness, to realize that we are not that. I take refuge in the Buddha, which is awake of that, awake to that. And there are antidotes for desire. It's to reflect upon the object of desire and see, is it really something? Would it really be like I think it would be? If it's aversion, we notice the aversion, and then if it's aversion to a person, we might practice a few moments of loving kindness toward them, or figure out how to be compassionate toward them. Restlessness and agitation we treat with greater concentration. Really decide to come home lovingly, solidly to breathing sensations. Sloth and torpor, sit up straight. Open the eyes. And really be mindful of the winking out of consciousness, or more accurately, the winking on of consciousness when you remember. Fascinating, lots to learn there. And if mindfulness isn't enough with doubt, then the conversation with good Dharma friends is a very adequate and helpful treatment. So we are putting aside, changing the track, planting different seeds, mindfully taking up in-breathing and out-breathing. Not at war with the hindrances, just using them as the manure of our awakening, said Chogyam Trungpa. Come home to yourself, to here and now, this breath. it serves us well also to notice the emotional tone that we bring to practice. It's not a war. There is a way we can frame it as a battle between light and dark, and awake and asleep, and so on. But I find it very important to bring love to the practice. In love, there's room for everything. So there's an aspirational saying, I aspire to love and accept myself exactly as I am in this moment. So our meditation is a love affair with our own experience. We're very curious about our own experience. We're willing to accept and listen. We're willing to accept the beauty of our own being. We're willing to be kind and compassionate with our inadequacies and failures. I aspire to love and accept myself exactly as I am in this moment. And whenever I'm hurting, no matter how I'm hurting, I aspire to hold myself in sweet compassion. When the toddler crashes and is surprised and freaked out, and maybe there's a skinned knee, what does she, he, they need? Comforting arms, no sudden movements in case there is injury, and containment, holding. I see you're hurting. Oh, look, you're bleeding a little bit. That's good red blood. I love you. Containment, compassion. And we sit where we are right now, really identical to every other human being on the planet in terms of our need for kindness and compassion. And so by taking care of this person, in fact, we take care of the world. You could make that more explicit with on the in-breath, breathing in, notice breathing in. With it, add a little mantra. May I be happy. May I be content. May I be free from suffering. Find something or things you can repeat easily. Let them bathe their way into you. And then on the out-breath, may all beings, or you could pick a particular person, may all beings be happy and safe, free from suffering. Resting back into this present moment. May I be happy, may all beings be happy. And now becoming mysteriously aware. How does it happen? Of the body, from the tips of the toes to the feet and ankles and forelegs. Forelegs, it's not the forelegs, it's the calves, the shins, the knees, the thighs, the pelvis, all the life of the genitals and the digestive tract, the deep abdomen, the chest. Notice how it expands and contracts. And then the back, all the way from the sacrum to the base of the skull, the fingers and hands, wrists and forearms, elbows and upper arms, the shoulders and neck, the jaw, the cheeks, the eyes, the forehead and the scalp, the ears, in short, the whole body. Bringing awareness now into the eyes. Let them roll around a little bit in their smooth home here in the head, the face. And then making the effort that's required, first an intention and then letting the eyes open, seeing. And we can see with what I like to call the eyes of blessing or the eyes of delight. Think a kind thought for the person you're seeing. Seeing. May you be really content and free from anxiety. May you be able to accept the circumstances of your life as they are right now and do what you can to create what you want, but to accept the process of that. Whatever comes to mind, whatever kindness you would offer to the people that inhabit those little squares in your screen. Well, that's a lovely practice for me. I have a couple of announcements. The first is a word of gratitude. To everyone who participated in the magnificent manifestation of this little house that I'm broadcasting from. I haven't seen Alicia here this morning. She had this idea that by fall it would be good to be in the structure rather than in a tent, which is where I was in the early months of COVID. And it's so cozy and warm in here and dry, and I can count on it. I can leave the equipment set up, and it's really, what a tremendous thing. The Buddha Broadcasting Network home base. So I thank you to everyone who contributed in so many ways to this happening. Another announcement. Next Saturday, Mary Stankavage will be teaching at PIMC. I forget the hours, but it's a half day or 2/3 of a day retreat. And I highly recommend that you check it out on the website and come and spend some time with Mary, because she's a very fine, very grounded human teacher.
She's coming in 2 weeks, Robert.
Is it 2 weeks?
I'm on next Saturday.
Oh, good. Well, next Saturday, come with Jim. Also, another very grounded, loving human being. Thanks for the correction. I'm glad we got that in. And also the reminder that there are many teachers at PIMC. And one of the things we've discovered is it's hard to find. We're going to redo the website, but it's hard to find the other teachers. I'm easy there on the front page, but poke around a little bit and you can see like the list of classes, or to use the weekly digest. There's marvelous guidance on how to find all the other teachings. And lastly, I'd say is the reminder of the practice of generosity. This gesture is the way home. Right? From this to this. There's an interesting experience when one has the practice of generosity close by. You notice things. For instance, this is quite a long time ago now, but I've had the identical experience with different objects. I was getting gas one day several years ago, and I really like those, what are they called? They're not felt, but the fuzzy hats. And I was at a gas station, and there was a young man, and it was cold and blowing, one of those horrid, what Portland calls winter days. And this young guy was out there without a coat and without a hat. And I said something like, "Didn't your mother tell you to wear a hat?" And he laughed. And then I took my hat and I said, and I saw my hat on him. That was the thing I wanted to talk about. It left me. It wasn't mine anymore. And when that happens, and sometimes it's a pain because I'm kind of attached to the object, but when that happens, there's a 90% chance that I will relinquish the object. Because it's not mine. How can I have it? So I put it on his head, and it kept him a little bit warmer. But it was such a delight. And here it is, that's 5 years later, 7 years later, I'm again taking delight in it. And so acts of generosity have incredible impact upon us. And there's so many ways to use that generosity, and one of which is to be generous toward this community and to find your way to the website and to find the Donate Here button. And ideally, best of all, is to become a monthly donor, because then that makes things very stable. And you also know then, when you're not here, you're still supporting your community. And I don't know if there's anybody here for the first time today, but that continues to happen. People find their way in because this beautiful gathering of people is happening and making it possible. So, to the degree that it is part of your heart's longing to make the Dharma available to others, I invite you to go to the website and make a contribution there. And lastly, I guess, the greatest contribution any of us can make toward world peace, environmental stabilization, and so on, is to train our own hearts and minds. So be generous with yourself every day. Practice regularly. Now, I have an announcement for the people on YouTube and Facebook. The talk that I'm going to give after Jim does his movement practice is going to be significantly based in some slides, and it's not going to be very helpful to be on Facebook or YouTube. So what I'm going to do is when Jim is done, I'm going to close down the Facebook and YouTube channel. And then when I start, I'm going to open the Facebook channel on Zoom. So it will record live to Facebook. It'll be present, it'll show on Facebook, and then I will post it later to YouTube. All of that to say is things will go dark for a little bit on YouTube and for the rest of this session on on Facebook it'll go dark briefly, and on YouTube it'll be dark until I post it later in the day. There, I think I said that accurately. So Jim, please, would you lead some nice movement?
All right.
Mindful movement.
Mindful movement. We live in such a complicated world. Facebook, Zoom, YouTube. If you'd like to join me, we'll stand up. As soon as I said stand up, my printer here in my office decided to clean itself. It rose up. It started its cleaning process. So we have another member of the group here. All right. So we're standing. Our feet feel like this. Just bring your attention to your feet and notice you're not sitting anymore. So your feet are like this. And take a little half step and reach. And then rock back. And reach. And rock back.
So, dear friends on, sorry.
Come back to the center and reach with step on the other foot. And
dear friends
reach,
on Facebook and
rock
YouTube,
back, and
I'm going to end this broadcast now.
Lubrication in your knees, in your ankles,
And
in your
on Facebook,
shoulder.
please come back in about 10
A
minutes, and
simple little reach.
there will be a continuation.
We'll come back. I forgot to say intention. So